Have you heard of something called the Texas two-step? Neither had I before. I just heard it in the news. But when I heard it and researched on the company doing it, I found it to be the most vulgar and disgusting act that the managers of a company can take. Hello everyone, my name is Ali and welcome to this channel where we talk about everything investing and especially focus on something called value investing. So you see, I have a habit of listening to the Financial Times podcast on Spotify. The producers of this podcast make short 10 minutes long podcasts to update its listeners on the latest news in the world of finance and politics. Since the podcast is US based, most of the news is of the US. And that's where I heard of the Texas two-step being performed by Johnson's & Johnson's. Ticker symbol J&J, this company is one of the most recognizable companies in the world. I have grown up using its products, from soap to shampoo and even talcum powder. And I'm sure all the 80s and 90s kids have used their snow white curved rectangular dispensers with 5 holes on the top that you open by swiveling, right? I'm sure many of you will know what I mean. As kids, I remember we used to pour it on our hair and pretend to be old men, or throw it in a wrapped paper cylinder and, blow into it pretending to puff to see that smoke come out. So I have fond memories of using Johnson's & Johnson's products. So when I heard of Johnson's & Johnson's performing the Texas two-step, I really didn't think it would be bad. So first, let us understand what is the Texas two-step. The Texas two-step is a financial nickname given to the procedure of a company creating a new subsidiary and offloading all of its bad debts into the subsidiary. Of course, this procedure is given a benign name like corporate restructuring, but this is just the first step. The second step is to then declare this subsidiary bankrupt, thus washing away the debt from the parent company and making it futile for creditors to get their money back. Doesn't this sound like a scam? And although everything is legal, it's definitely in the realm of being unethical and cheating. But what made me disgusted and sick was finding out that Johnson's & Johnson's was performing the Texas two-step not only to offload its debt, but to offload its responsibilities regarding one of its products. You see, what has happened is that many people have come forward claiming that they have gotten cancer by using this product of J&J. Can you guess what product I'm talking about? I'm talking about that same old snow white talcum powder. People have been coming together to sue Johnson's & Johnson's for selling talcum powder that has caused them or their family members to grow cancer and ruin their lives. Of course, these claimants have substantial proof to claim that indeed using J&J powder gave them cancer. How do I know this? Well, firstly, because they did their studies and research and medically proved that this is true. Their case also is apparently strong enough that they have gone to the courts to try and get their compensation from Johnson's & Johnson's. But the biggest indication that something nefarious is afoot is that instead of listening to these families and working out a solution, Johnson & Johnson has taken steps to perform the Texas two-hole to offload their talcum powder product. So Johnson & Johnson's first took the step of corporate restructuring in 2021 after they lost a case in the US Supreme Court, where they were tasked with paying $2.1 billion to the victims of the talcum powder. Originally called Johnson's & Johnson's Consumer Inc., this parent was split into 2 companies called Johnson's & Johnson's Consumer Inc. and LTL Management LLC. All liabilities regarding the talcum powder fiasco was handed over to LTL Management LLC, and in 2021 it filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Johnson & Johnson have gone to the courts in Texas, where the state allows for some cases of subsidiaries to declare bankrupt and to be freed of liabilities. Of course, the disgusting part is that Johnson & Johnson has offloaded all of its links, IP, product, money, debt related to the talcum product over to this subsidiary called LTL Management LLC. And if they are allowed to declare bankruptcy, it means that they will not have to compensate these families for falling sick with cancer. The good news in this story is that the Texas two-step has been blocked by the courts. By the way, plenty of smaller companies have played this card and gotten away, but Johnson & Johnson is the biggest baddie to have tried this, and for now, they seem to have been successfully blocked. On Monday, the 30th of Jan, the courts ruled that only companies in financial distress can declare bankruptcy, citing that J&J had agreed to fund LTL's liability up to $61.5 billion. Now, LTL has a funding backstop. Not unlike an ATM, the judge said that LTL has a funding backstop, not unlike an ATM disguised as a contract, that it can draw on to pay its liabilities. This is what Judge Thomas Ambrose wrote in his opinion. You see, Johnson & Johnson has some $30 billion in cash plus some change. And by some estimates, the lawsuits may cost the company $10 billion to pay out the compensation. So the judge felt that LTL Management LLC does not seem to be in any major distress that they need to declare bankruptcy. What's the moral of the story here? Well, as value investors, we want to invest in good, growing and cheap companies. Good, growing and cheap all relates to finances of the company, which we can retrieve and calculate with the annual reports and balance sheets and all of that stuff. For all intents and purposes, the rest of J&J are doing good work, creating products that people rely on and can trust. But we should also strive to study the actions of the management of the company with a fine comb. We want to see how they grow the company's capital, how they increase the earnings, but I'll also dare say how they manage conflict. Because as the company grows, problems are bound to arise. How the management fairly deals with the situation, how they take responsibility and how they do justice to its stakeholders and its clients is also important to see. Eventually, people trust people. Businesses grow because of people, but they also fail because of people. So yeah, if J&J executives continue down this path, then I will be the first one to say that I have lost trust in the company and I wouldn't want to park my money here ever again.